So here's the question, right? You can choose which one. Just give me like a funny, simple story. Either where he like said something funny in practice, or he got mad at something, or he BM'd someone. Is there a good, simple story?
A good, simple story?
Like, did he ever tell you anything? Did he ever tell you anything outrageous, like you're a dog or something because he did badly in a game or something?
I mean, he actually didn't really ever say anything to me for some reason.
Okay.
Like, I don't know. I don't really like create problems within my team.
Fair
I like to figure out solutions ASAP. And I just have that kind of like laid back personality. So I'll never forget this one story that him and Eric, we're in a Mirage scrim. And like, I think Eric called the strat and s1mple like just went and died somewhere. And then s1mple was like, he just basically said like, I don't want to play with a player like this or something. And I was like, what the hell? Like, what is happening right now? And then Eric, I don't know, it was just like a back and forth, but I'll never forget when he said that. And I was like, damn, like this is bad.
It's a hell of a line
like we're getting paid and all this. So
exactly. It was a thread that was about Na'Vi being dead last in Pro League, but s1mple having amazing stats. There was multiple threads about this because it was a ridiculous phenomenon. And what happened was there was a guy who'd said something like about s1mple, like, well, why are you surprised? He is a prodigy, once in a generation type talent from the CIS region. He took NA team twice to the semis plus final of a major. Guy is on par with Nico and Cold Zero. So comment, obviously, I agree with. And then this guy replies, 15 points. He took NA team twice to the semis. That's just quoting that guy. I have it in text when I read it. And he says, yet he can't do that with the best CIS team. Question mark, question mark, question mark. I know that emoji doesn't show up there. And he says, it's almost like Liquid are talented or something, right? How's Liquid done without s1mple? Yeah, they made a couple of finals for big events, and that's it, basically, in the year and a half since they had s1mple. They didn't qualify for a major twice. Oh, wait a second. Actually, they were in a major, but they bombed out the first one fairly easily, and then they didn't qualify the second time for the major. So Team Liquid without s1mple, and with Mad's money and bringing in multiple other players, haven't really done shit compared to what they did with s1mple. Then he says, yeah, he can't do that with the best CIS team. Right, first of all, it's debatable how much they were the best CIS team once you get to like the middle of this year. So let's say he had the best CIS team for like 9-10 months in Na'Vi, right? First of all, he won a 250k or more tournament with that. Liquid never did that, and he never did that with Liquid. In fact, very few, even great players have won those massive tournaments. Like the first tournament, 250k or more tournament that Guardian won was the one that he won with s1mple as the MVP of the tournament. Now, are you saying Guardian's not a good player because he, with the best CIS team, couldn't win 250k or more tournaments? No, obviously not. He's a fucking amazing player. It didn't matter that Na'Vi made it to the final majors and 250k tournaments, we didn't win them. That's not really relevant, right? You can't just look at team results and then compare it to the player and compare another team who's going to go, look at that. Oh, I didn't. Different results. Maybe he's the reason why this one's bad, but someone else in the team was the reason they're good? No, it's not really that reasonable, is it, actually? Na'Vi going 1-3 at PGL Krakow, the major, but s1mple finishing with amazing stats. And this guy, again, we're seeing someone try to speculate, without using any game analysis, as to why maybe s1mple's getting amazing stats, but his team's losing. So this guy goes with, okay, could be that. 3 options he gives us. s1mple, 3 points he makes. s1mple is best when he is let loose. A loose s1mple is difficult to play with as a teammate. Result, the team loses, but s1mple has great stats, right? First of all, number 1, s1mple is best when he's let loose. I absolutely agree with that. In fact, I think a flaw that they had in Na'Vi early in 2017 was trying to put some reins on s1mple, thinking that that would somehow make Flamey and Guardian play better. It didn't. Flamey and Guardian, if anything, played worse and actually didn't manage to recover their form. And even without Guardian in the lineup, Flamey didn't recover much of his form, and Guardian, only when he went completely elsewhere and was given a different role and, ironically enough, limited himself at certain positions on CT side of certain maps, did his form recover. So doesn't really work that you can imply that somehow s1mple impact on his teammates is because of him playing loose. No. But s1mple playing loose, yes, I think that's when he's at his absolute best, because he's one of the rare players who has the entire toolkit and whose intuitive sense for the game and whose raw grind, where like Fur, he's put himself in these what otherwise would be terrible, to use DDK's phrase, negative EV, negative expected value scenarios over and over again, but he is so skilled he can get out of them successfully. And in fact, because that's just his world that he lives in, that's his office, is his aggro pushes, he has actually made it shit. So he is the best in the world at that, and an extremely good player at it. And as a final detail, probably better at that than if he played ABC Counter-Strike like a Zipnix or someone like that. I think he would be much, much worse and far less impactful in all regards, stats, winning rounds, and winning games. Are Guardian and s1mple just incompatible as teammates? Like, if you'd have been in a team that had a really great in-game leader and all the other teammates were really great, could you have played together, or do you think you're just not supposed to be in a team together?
I think if, like, past year I was not a good teammate either. Like, I didn't pay attention to the team as much as I should, and if me and s1mple could work, or s1mple, we could work together, but he would have to change a lot. I mean, he would have to learn how to understand the teammates or some person and listen to him. Like, if you're not listening to someone and you don't care about someone, then it cannot work.
Sure.
So, I mean, of course it could work, but probably not now. Maybe in the future. Who knows? Everything, like, we are all changing, you know, maybe in 1 year or maybe in 2 weeks, I will be different or you will be different. Okay. Or, you know, everyone is still growing and he's still young. He's like 19 years old, 20. So, yeah. So he has a lot of things to work on, and I'm pretty sure one day he will become the best player in the world, but I don't think it's nowadays. He has a lot of things to work on and learn.
2018, I mean, people know the guy's just been a god. Like, it's like beyond his team winning the tournaments, there's nothing more you could ask from this guy. His level has already exceeded every other calendar year by any player, I think, in the history of Counter-Strike, but I'll definitely say in CSGO. Maybe I'd have to go check some more demos for Neo and Forest, etc., to really check for all of Counter-Strike history. Now, the reason why I've laid out that context is because you can see how ridiculous, like, that's like a movie script career of how every year you get better and you get into a slightly better team, and even if you've got bad teammates, you beat the better opponents, and you're doing shit that's impossible, and even when people think your level's at a high level and you're one of the best individual players, you go to an even higher level later on. Like, this is absolutely wild shit. So forget people coming in and having a good first year as a rookie. They've got all their work ahead of them to get even halfway through s1mple's career. Remember, less than 2 years into being a pro player, the guy was taking teams to major top fours and then major finals. That's the level we're talking about. He'd already beaten the best teams in the world, the number one ranked teams in the world on LAN, hard carried himself, gone against the Olaf Meisters, the Cold Zeros, the best players in the world. He'd done all this shit already 2 years into being a pro. So it's, when you say someone's going to be the next s1mple, you're not just saying he's an extremely good player who's looking great early on. You're actually making basically the biggest prediction you can make for a player's career trajectory. It is possible to make, because you have picked the most outrageous outlier in the history of the game. Even people like Olaf Meister and Cold Zero, etc., haven't had comparable careers individually in terms of how they played individually and with a comparable level of teammate to s1mple, quite frankly. Some of them have never had teammates in their proper pro careers as bad as s1mple had for most of his career. Analysts and experts, including many of the people I respect, used to say he's actually too selfish by AWPing. He should just primary rifle and he should let Guardian be the AWPer. By the way, you could argue right now s1mple is a better AWPer than Guardian, especially because of the way he uses the AWP. He uses the AWP in a way that AWPers don't. He doesn't just take angles and sit at the same spot and shoot people and re-peek. He uses the AWP like an entry weapon at times. He can use the AWP in clutches and be godlike. This guy can do anything with the AWP. It's absolutely bonkers what he can do. So the idea that they were telling back then, you shouldn't even use the weapon that in the end you'll be maybe the best to use and most impactful with. Then 2018 came. So if you kept track here, he came along in late 2014. By the time the guy is over 3 years into a really ridiculous career for an individual player, sure, not necessarily in terms of team accomplishments, but even then, won 250k tournament, beat many great teams on LAN, was able to get to 2 major top fours. This is no joke. This is very insane shit in light of all the limitations. After 3 or coming on 4 years of all this, finally people break, because the guy literally supernovaed his level even further out of the universe that it was so ridiculous and it was so clear that he was hard carrying his team and he was winning some games in spite of his team that they finally had to just break. They couldn't maintain the cognitive dissonance any longer. And finally, people acknowledged that he was the best player. 3 or 4 years into his incredible career, where you almost couldn't ask for more as a rookie, except to be on better teams and have more trophies. That's about it. So I actually think if you look at his path that he was on, The only people comparable are the other prodigies, the Nikos of the world. And quite frankly, I don't even need to list many more names. I'd say for CSGO, stop right there. Maybe a Kenny S or someone. Okay, some of these people might be comparable. That's about it. We're talking about a very, very small group of players. 10 people contender for GOAT. No, I make sure I'm very precise about that. So when back in 2016, I started talking about how s1mple could be the greatest player to ever play CSGO, there's a reason why. The eye test was unbelievable, and the things he was already doing at majors against the best teams in the world showed that, like, this is either one of the craziest youth spikes ever, or when this guy gets even better, nobody's going to be able to handle him. Because I want to make a statement now, and I don't put out there lightly. s1mple has transcended Counter-Strike as a franchise, CS 1.6 and Source as well, and as a result, he isn't just the best player in history, the greatest of all time, the GOAT. He is so consistently the best and the GOAT, and over such an absurd span of time to at worst be the second best player, that it's no longer about comparing him with Counter-Strike players like in CS 1.6 Get Right and Olaf Meister and Coldzera and Ziwu and Device and no. You have to now take him out of Counter-Strike and just compare him with the greatest to ever play in esports. People like Flash from StarCraft Brood War, Faker from League of Legends, Rafa and Cypher from the Quake series, Daigo in Street Fighter. Then, if you don't want to talk about esports, we have to go to the loftiest, the rarest air to talk about sports people that he's comparable to. Michael Jordan, Wayne Gretzky, Wilt Chamberlain, Jerry Rice, Pele, Maradona, Messi, Ronaldo, Muhammad Ali, Floyd Mayweather, GSP, Rocky Marciano, Anderson Silva, Fedor, Babe Ruth. This is the kind of person we're talking about. This is the sort of person where they have accomplished such a ridiculous body of work. They're in the category with these people, assuming you consider video games comparable to those sports, right? We used to wonder in 1.6, what would happen if Forest had Neo or Get Right's work ethic? Well, we know now. We know what it's like when the most skilled player also works the hardest and sustains it for the longest and at the highest level. I never thought there would ever be a Counter-Strike player. Like, I didn't even take people like Neo and put them in this category, especially not in CSGO. That could be potentially the best player to ever play any esports game. Because I look at the skill and the strategy in games like Quake Duel, StarCraft Brood War, and for me, the games are so much better than CSGO and Counter-Strike. I thought nobody from Counter-Strike could ever impress me enough. I can really put them in that character with Flash and Rafa and these guys who were unbelievable in their dominance and how much they had everyone else in their back pocket at some time.
So yeah, it's all about balance. For him, he's, as I said, a really great killer because he understands the game on another level. I mean, I think it's not about even the tactical aspect of the game. It's more about game feeling. So his game feeling is one of the best, I think, even best in the world. He knows. He just needs to know where is the opponent.
Yes.
So this, if we'll use, for example, some guy like to go and check the area to know to find out where the players are standing, and then he will clutch 1 versus 3, for example. And the players need to sacrifice for this level of strength.
So adding in s1mple. Now, first of all, s1mple in isolation. I think he is the best CIS player. I think when you add in what he's done this year and what he did at that last major, the guy's fucking unbelievable. Especially right now where Guardians are low and Flamey's good, but he's not quite as effective. And Edward's been like the best Na'Vi player over the last couple of months. To me, this guy might be the most talented player in the world. I certainly think Nico and Shox can give him a run for his money in that respect and might even beat him out in terms of having... I mean, in Shox's case, more deep runs. s1mple, Nico's case, just consistency, game to game to game to game of talent. But this guy's incredibly talented. I mean, one day, I think this guy might go down. I think one day he is going to be the best player in the world. The only thing that can stop it is his attitude. And that's the crazy part. We're not talking about attitude in terms of choking or feeling the pressure. No, just his attitude in terms of his teammates. If he can let his teammates live and let them help him, he can be the best player in the world. That's how fucking talented this guy is. Put it this way, when I look at players like, for example, I'll give you some obvious examples. When I look at a player like Device, who I think has incredible skill set, very well-rounded, one of the best players in the entire world. I think s1mple's more talented than this guy, more skilled. When I look at coldzera has the complete package in terms of like the ultimate star player at the moment, and in terms of how he fits in his system. I think s1mple's a more talented guy than him. Obviously, coldzera's a better player. So in terms of talent, the sky is the limit for this guy. That's how talented he is.
To paraphrase the legendary DMX, I just love when y'all in my Patreon crew give me a bigger piece of cake to chew a hole through. Because obviously, one of the ways I'm able to support myself and make content like I do on this channel is thanks to my Patreon community and the likes of Ahmed Hadjou, Frisky, Matt Pugnatio, Rajcula, Animosity, Jensen Goh, Tobias Bernasconi, Tosh, Tooorin, and always a special thanks goes out to my main man, Jerky's Minion. Do you want to ask a question in my video AMA? Do you want to suggest a topic or a guest to interview? Maybe you want teasers, find out who I've already interviewed in upcoming episodes. Or do you want to take part in one of those lengthy online discussions that I do with my top patrons? Well, if any of these perks or more appeal to you, then put your money where your mouth is and join the Skrilluminati today via the Patreon link below.